Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Benjamin Shrader. Mr. Benjamin, how are you doing, sir?
Absolutely fantastic. Happy to be here.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin. Firstly, you are a brain tumor survivor. Can you please,
Yes.
Mr. Benjamin, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Benjamin?
Yes, myself, I had a golf ball sized brain tumor, something called an acoustic neuroma in my right ear canal and growing underneath my brain, pushing up against my brain stem. It was 3 years ago that I had it out, and then afterwards I had the gamma knife procedure, where I tell you, it was like a horror movie. They put me in a vice and they literally drilled it to my skull and then put me in a machine and it zapped the tumor. But hey, it worked, and the tumor is dead. I am deaf in the right side of my right ear, which I guess it's a little funny. I run an event production company putting on concerts. So, I guess if the music's really bad, I can just turn that ear to them. So, yes, that's a little bit about the brain tumor, and it was a real shock, as you can imagine. Finding out I'm 26, when I found out, I was 23. Just had a little minor pressure, and literally a 2% hearing loss. 2%, like barely noticeable. But I went in, I got it checked out, and they said, I remember the hospital called me in a panic, and they couldn't get a hold of me. So they called my parents, my emergency contact. And my parents called me and were like, the hospital wants to get a hold of you. And that's never a good sign. And so, yeah, no, I went in, found out I had it, got it out a month later, and definitely a lot to go through.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Benjamin. And it will also be a very, very tough moment for you during that time. And I also thank God that you are really doing well today. And I also pray that, such situation won't repeat itself. And I continue to pray that you continue to get well, better in the coming future. And I also like to ask if you've written any book, probably in terms of your experience or probably what you do currently. Have you written any book or are you planning to write any book in the coming future, Mr. Benjamin?
I have not written a book yet, but I am planning to write one about dyslexia, actually.
Hmm.
Sort of um, a book about growing up dyslexic and a little manual almost to help parents of dyslexic children. I have very severe dyslexia myself. I'm in the 1 percentile. So to this day, I read at about a third grade reading level, which can be tough, but with technology and these days, thank God, a good staff that I'm able to curb a lot of that. But hey, that's a very good question. Not quite yet, almost.
Yes, almost. We definitely hope it comes out or even have the idea or even interest to do it in the coming future. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin. I would like to dive to the point of the Dyslexia, which you explained education. Dyslexia education, a lot of people would like to know how it also connects with the experience you had with your brain tumor when you were 23. I would like to ask, how do you think your experience as a brain tumor survivor shape your perspective on Dyslexia education, Mr. Benjamin?
It's funny. I almost would say it's the other way around. Having dyslexia gave me the resilience that I needed to get through the brain tumor, which I know might sound funny, but my entire life, it was tough. I was a real outcast, and I was that weird kid that talked too much and couldn't read. And I was always getting knocked down and had to get up again. And, I was diagnosed in kindergarten real early in life. I was homeschooled up to high school. And I thought going to high school would be the grass is greener on the other side. I thought it would just be glorious. But, it wasn't. It was tough. And those years of having that struggle, that difficulty, and it's an everyday thing where, I've mentioned to people before that it's just crazy. I could put on a concert. There could be 20,000 people in the crowd, and I could pull out the little manifest or the sheet of who's coming up next. And then that day, I might be stressed and I can't tell what it says. I remember grabbing a cameraman and asking him once what was the next person coming up just because I couldn't read it. And that being knocked down from the heights of transcendent joy, when everything's going great, and being knocked down, I guess in some aspect keeps a man humble, but in another aspect, it makes you resilient. And I genuinely believe if I did not have dyslexia, and you might laugh at this a little bit, but I could have turned out to be a jerk. But dyslexia, it is hard, but it makes me who I am, and without it, I wouldn't be who I am. So my education and how the brain tumor played a role in that, it was really all teaching me resilience. You gotta stand back up when you get knocked down.
Completely agree. There are some situations that happen to someone in life sometimes. It definitely bring out, it definitely bring out the truth, like someone to rethink life and also not fall into some situations that they could even face in the coming future. I completely agree with you, Mr. Benjamin. And there will also be signs during this dyslexia, most of the time in children. I do not know how your parents possibly figure out that you possibly, have that small issue during that time. But, there will also be signs that, early signs that, parents or educators could try to see that, oh, it seems this child could have some sign, no, could have dyslexia. How do you think parents and educators identify early signs of dyslexia in children, Mr. Benjamin?
Yes, it's very, very important to
Mm.
identify those early signs because the earlier that you get reading therapy, and then occupational therapy, like handwriting therapy, and then sometimes math remediation. So technically, I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. I call them the big three, which is just trouble with reading, trouble with math, and trouble with writing. And you have to keep an eye on it. So educators, really the biggest thing is going to be is and parents as well. Does the child have a dislike of reading? Is the child's reading ability advancing significantly slower than other kids? For me, I hated the letter blocks. I didn't want to play with those stupid letter blocks. You know those. You know what I'm talking about. The
Yes.
wooden with like an A on them. And then my reading was advancing really slowly, but I wasn't showing other signs. I wasn't showing things like all the rest of my education, science, things like that were all advancing at the same rate or faster than other kids, but my reading never got past a certain point. And so that was how in kindergarten they had said, okay, let's get them tested for dyslexia. And the reason you always want to do the testing is that that's the only way to get accommodations. For all of my life up to 18, I had to do dyslexia testing every 3 years with forgive me, I forget, her name was Lynn Henton, but I forget her title. It is a learning specialist who does that diagnostic work.
Mm.
So keeping an eye out really on how your child's reading is advancing and how they feel about reading. So, like for me, the two best ways that I describe dyslexia, the first is it is like looking at a foreign language for me. So I could tell you each letter, I could tell you each character, but I just can't tell you what that word says. And it feels almost painful, isn't the right word, but it feels like mentally straining, where us dyslexics, we have the same number of neural net connections as other people. They're just spread out differently. So you're fighting almost to figure out what that is. So that level of frustration and discomfort in reading is definitely an important thing to look out for.
More of that education point where students will learn. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin, for that. And I also like to go to the point of schools. A lot of schools, the way they possibly might be treating dyslexia, when it comes to approaching dyslexia, could be in a way, sometimes could be in a way that might not be really, really approaching Mr. Benjamin. I would like to ask if there is any changes you would like to see in the way schools approach dyslexia education, Mr. Benjamin?
So I have to say, and forgive me, a minor technical difficulty on my end. I have to say that I am pleased recently in the United States, dyslexia was reclassified from like a maybe disability to an actual disability, which that is good to see. Now, myself, I always call it a learning difference. I believe it makes people who they are, that it's tough, but it's a difference in how one learns. I had to learn how to memorize everything, so I'm pretty good at memorization, but not so good at the reading part. There have been a lot of advancements in the last 20 years because when I was a kid, there was not much help. I ended up having to go to a Catholic school because they were one of the only places, after I was homeschooled. My parents are saints, and they homeschooled me my early life because there was nowhere. There was nowhere, even the school for dyslexics, there was nowhere that could help someone with the level of severity that I had, that people said I'd never read. And only with the original Orton Gillingham program was I able to actually learn the basics. Orton Gillingham was the very original, before like Scottish Rite, before things like that. There was Orton Gillingham, and that program is very basic. A apple a, B bat buzz, C cat cuh. You had these flashcards to get each letter sound. I hated those flashcards, but it helped, and it was really simple. And these like little Bible stories were
Mm,
very, very simple, but that helped so much. Mrs. Prim was my teacher, and her son had dyslexia, and she was a retired teacher. She tutored me for years and actually got me to that third grade reading level when everyone said that I couldn't.
mm,
Now, in the past 20 years, there has been that expansion of help for dyslexics, but there's definitely still a lot of way to go. I think that though I like the term neurodivergent that's being used a lot, where it's talking about people with neurodiversity. So these are different things like ADHD, dyslexia,
mm,
autism. I think that it can be, it's important to make it to distinguish that dyslexia is its own thing, and needs its own specific type of help that might be different than people with ADHD or autism. And so making that distinguishment and getting the reading therapy early. People still don't do the reading therapy early enough. Forgive me, I'm not exactly sure when they start now. I forget the exact time, but I believe it's third grade. If you're diagnosed with dyslexia, you need to be basically start the reading therapy right away. It literally, the earlier you get it, the better. I had 9 years of reading therapy. And so I was very fortunate that my parents made a lot of sacrifices so that they could get that for me. But, not everyone is in that position. So having schools, I'd love to see universal dyslexia testing where everybody gets tested for dyslexia, the people that have it, get that reading therapy right away. But, that can be tough. So figuring something out really where classrooms are a little more conducive, a lot more materials are available, online, and you can just highlight the text and speak it. That's how I got through college. And so getting those tools in place and getting that testing and therapy early are going to be the biggest things.
I'm really, really glad that this really, really works well in the United States. And even you going to, school, having this grade, even having your early grade in the Catholic school. I also am on a Catholic faith, but I didn't go to the school anyway. But it really, really helps. In those situations. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy that you really walked through and you passed through everything, and you actually succeeded. And that's the inspiration we have to give to other people who are also facing this dialects outside there. And I would like to go to the point of what technology has done when it comes to Dialexa. Like, what role do you think technology has also played when it comes to Dialexa? What role do you think technology has played in helping students with Dialexa succeed today, Mr. Benjamin?
I love this question. I absolutely love this question because I love technology. I remember when I was a kid, I got from Reading for the Blind and Dyslexic, an organization that would like manually read textbooks. The people would literally read and record them. I got a Victor Reader, and it was a little black and gray box. and you put SD cards in it, and you had to like go moving forward one chapter, moving forward two chapters, section A, B, and you had to type all through it.
Mm,
I love that Victor Reader, but whoa, it was a hassle. Today, oh
mm,
my gosh, today the advancements that have been made, I would not be able to run my company without voice to text and text to speech. Like the fact that I can talk to the phone and it can write down what
mm,
I say. I'm a big fan of Apple for this. They do a great job of integrating text to speech and voice to text into the system. I can highlight text messages, my emails with you. I read them with text to
wow,
speech. That
wow.
is how I function. I mean, that is how without that, I could not function. So getting a child set up with those tools early, I think is very, very valuable. And the advancements with AI lately, I think that, one always wants to be careful because one wants to have that applicable knowledge of their own where they actually
Mm,
study and learn things. But I think in many ways, AI can help dyslexic students learning things. I love, ChatGPT, the newer models. You can have it talk, you can talk to it. You can literally set it up and talk to it, and it will talk to you back. So if I'm doing research on something or I'm wanting to know about something, I named mine. You can name it. Mine's named Lazarus. I thought it was a great name for an AI because, it's like not 100% alive. I don't know. So yeah, Lazarus. And I always am like, oh, hey, Lazarus, what's this X and such? And then I have it always say, oh, this, my friend,
mm,
so uh, that's very useful. But I am I'm brought to joy by the technological advancement and how that can help the dyslexic community. My only caution is
okay.
watch out for the snake oil salesman. There will always be the snake oil salesman, the pen that you highlight the text and it reads it to you. That never worked. I tried that. The magic glasses that are going to make you read right, or the magic paper when it's literally not a problem with your eyes at all. Uh, those type of things, watch out for those, but widely adopted technology that can be applied to help dyslexics is what I'm all for. Because it's the niche technology that it's not going to advance fast, it's not going to be great, but the widely adopted technology, recently you can take a picture of things now on an iPhone and you can highlight the text and have it read to you.
Wow.
That's a new feature and that's widely adopted and that's great. I mean, there was Prismo back in the day that did that. It was an app and you take pictures of things, but it wasn't as accurate. It was great for the time, but it wasn't as accurate. So widely adopted technologies that can be applied to dyslexics, that's where you want to look and that's where you want to find stuff that can help you.
That's very great. I'm also a big fan of ChatGPT, but it's really, really massive. AI is the future, and it's really, really helping in situations like this, assisting in one place or the other. And I also remember at the time you said it is very advisable to get this diagnosis of dyslexia very early. The earlier, the better. Now, lastly, the question I would like to ask is the advice you will have for those who are not diagnosed, that's those who are diagnosed, and those who are diagnosed lately. What advice do you have for adults most of the time with undiagnosed or late diagnosed dyslexia, Mr. Benjamin?
It's tough, but not all hope is lost. It never is. I would say if you were diagnosed later in life and you find that your dyslexia impedes your ability to function in the reader's world, get reading therapy. Try to get reading therapy. It might be a little embarrassing. I mean, back in the day, for me, I was a kid and it was humiliating to step out of class for a reading therapy session or to miss lunch for that, or, to be pulled out of class for a test that someone had to read to me. It's embarrassing, but it'll really help you. And dyslexia is not curable, there is no cure. I would argue, it doesn't need to be cured, things like that, but who knows? Maybe Neuralink will fix it all one day. But doing that, it's not curable, but you can curb how much it affects you and you can build neural net connections even later in life. It's going to be harder, but you can build them. So if it's really affecting your life, then go to reading therapy. Sometimes there are balance issues, things like that. Go to occupational therapy. If you need math remediation, literally go and get tutoring. And then sometimes even colleges offer this, and it's sometimes super expensive, sometimes not expensive. Just shop around and find actual help because there is help that you can get. Now, if it's not affecting your life a ton, but it is affecting your life enough that it's annoying, I recommend get simple books for might even be younger ages, but on a topic you find interesting. So, like myself, I love military history. I used to get, and I still do this to this day, old military manuals and like on survival or things like that. And these military manuals were written very simply because these were older and maybe literacy rates weren't as common or things like that. So they were basic. They were basic and easy to read. And I always thought it was nice. Like there was this paratrooper one where it was like, okay, if you find yourself in enemy territory and you don't have anything, the first thing you do is pray. So that that's smart, but definitely a good idea, and what I would do in that situation. So getting those simple books on a topic you like, and then read them. Force yourself. It can be painful. Just try to do 10 minutes a day, and that will genuinely help. Now, if it comes to spelling, I never got spelling. I tried for years, never got it. And on that, I would say don't be embarrassed to embrace technology. If it really is beyond, um, and I hate to say it this way, but if it's beyond what you're capable of, isn't the right way to say it. But if it's beyond what you have the time to invest in to really, really work on, use technology. Technology is not the enemy. Like you said, AI is the future. There is help out there. And so to use a little bit of a crutch is okay. And text to speech, voice to text, cannot recommend it enough. You definitely want to get that. Have something where you can take pictures and have it read to you. Have, even an AI assistant is a great help. But don't give
Completely.
up. It's going to
Yeah.
be okay.
Exactly, I completely agree. It's not going to be very, very easy. And I also sincerely thank you for the insight. And what really humbled me and really pained me the most is that it doesn't have a cure. We also hope, AI is the future. We also hope we just give AI the information and AI just say, okay, this is how this is how it could be. So we hope it happens in the coming future. We do not know if it will happen, but we hope in the coming future this thing has something that could personally even cure it. It's really, really huge. It would be a very huge market. I would like to also, there's a question I normally ask during the end of the show, Mr. Benjamin. From the forefathers, from our fathers during the historic time who have passed on to the next glory, there are a lot of things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Benjamin, what do you think that thing would be, Mr. Benjamin?
You know, this might sound really funny, and this is something that my father really instilled in me, but a sense of honor. Honor is important. It really is. And, if you have honor, you treat those you love, even your opponents, even people you don't like, a little better. And that sense of duty. I joke with my friends that sometimes something bad happens, the whistle blows, and you got to go over the trench. That sense of duty where some things really stink, but they need to be done. That somebody has to do it. That something has to be done. This is I when I was talking about my brain tumor, I was like, something bad had happened, but I had to act. I couldn't just sit around. So having that honor, that discipline, that sense of duty is something my father really instilled in me and is a cultural characteristic I think that a lot of people have lost. And I think that it would do a lot of people good where they can say, no, there is a right way to do things. There is a way to look at another person and look at them with a sense of dignity. I think that that would be really valuable to people today.
Honoring is a very, very powerful thing today. When you're honoring something with someone with something, it's a massive and it's very, very it's mean everything to such person, and that is what we need to continue to build and adapt today. It's very, very massive. I want to also sincerely thank you, Mr. Benjamin, for the time, for the opportunity you've given me today. It's mean a lot. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Exactly. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Benjamin. Bye bye.
Bye bye.